Medvedev's US Open match descends into chaos after photographer enters court. The US Open descended into chaos on Sunday when a photographer came onto the court as Daniil Medvedev faced match point, bringing the first-round match to a standstill and sparking a spectacular meltdown from the Russian. Former champion Medvedev was eventually knocked out 6-3, 7-5, 6-7, 5, 0-6, 6-4 by Frenchman Benjamin Bonzi, who threatened to walk off the court at one point and called for the Russian to be disqualified. Saving for the match at 6-3, 7-5, 5-4, Bonzi was preparing to play his second serve when the photographer stepped onto the court surface. The disruption led chair umpire Greg Allensworth to put Bonzi back onto his first serve, sparking an astonishing outburst from Medvedev. "Are you a man? Are you a man? Why are you shaking?" the Russian shouted as he stormed towards the chair. "He wants to go home, guys. He doesn't like it here. He gets paid by the match, not by the hour." Medvedev also repeatedly shouted, "What did Riley Opelka say?" at the official in reference to the U.S. player's call for Allensworth to be suspended after receiving a code violation at the Dallas Open for confronting a spectator. The match was halted for about 6 minutes as jeers, whistles, and boos rang out around Louis Armstrong Stadium, with fans refusing to stay quiet so Bonzi could serve. The USTA said the photographer was escorted from the court by US Open security, and that his credentials had been revoked. The chaos almost proved Medvedev's salvation. After fending off the match point, he broke to level the set at 5-5 before edging the tiebreak to force a fourth set. The 2021 champion looked a completely different player in the fourth set as he dished out a bagel to level the match as his rattled opponent took a medical timeout for what appeared to be a knee issue. Boos from the crowd continued for the remainder of the match, with some fans targeting Bonzi during his service motion. The final set was much more of a contest, with the duo exchanging multiple breaks of serve as the match wound down to a nail-biting finish. Spurred on by shouts of courage and delays from his box, Bonzi sealed the win with a glorious backhand, with Medvedev returning to his seat and smashing his racket. "It was crazy. I may have got some new fans, but also some new non-fans," said world number 51 Bonzi, who has now beaten Medvedev in all 3 of their Grand Slam encounters, each time in the first round. "The energy was crazy. Thanks to all who were booing. Thanks for the energy. I've never experienced something like that. We waited maybe 5 minutes before the match point, and it was crazy. There was so much noise." Medvedev becomes the first former champion to exit this year's tournament, leaving Flushing Meadows after a horrible year at the majors where he managed to get to the second round just once. The 2025 US Open was already shaping up to be one of the most electrifying tournaments in recent history, but what unfolded during Daniil Medvedev's second-round match under the bright lights of Arthur Ashe Stadium left fans stunned and commentators scrambling for words. What began as a routine night match turned into a whirlwind of chaos, confusion, and disbelief after an unexpected intruder, a credentialed photographer, stormed the court mid-rally, sending the stadium into a frenzy. A match that began in control. Medvedev, the 2021 US Open champion and perennial contender, stepped onto the court that evening with his signature stoic focus. Facing rising American talent Christopher Eubanks, Medvedev opened the match with calculated precision, dominating the first set 6-3 and showcasing the defensive mastery and flat ground strokes that have defined his career. The second set began much the same. Ashe's electric crowd roared with every point, feeding off the intensity between the two men on court. Medvedev, unfazed by the noise, appeared to be in cruise control, his eyes locked on the prize of advancing deeper into the draw. But in a split second, everything changed. The moment of chaos. Midway through the third game of the second set, during a critical rally, a sudden blur of motion at the corner of the court sent the stadium into shock. A photographer, identified later as a freelance professional with full event credentials, sprinted onto the playing surface with camera equipment in hand. Gasps rippled through the stadium. Security hesitated, stunned by the breach of protocol. The chair umpire leapt from his seat, shouting for play to stop, but not before Eubanks fired a forehand winner past a distracted Medvedev, who had abruptly halted mid-stride. Medvedev, furious, immediately gestured at the umpire. "Are you kidding me?" he shouted, pointing toward the intruder, who was quickly restrained by security guards. "This is the US Open, not a circus." Crowd reactions and shock. Fans, stunned at the surreal interruption, erupted into a chorus of boos and gasps. Social media exploded in real time, with clips of the incident going viral within minutes. Hashtags like #Medvedev meltdown and #court chaos trended worldwide. Eubanks, visibly shaken himself, approached the net to check on Medvedev. "I thought it was a streaker at first," Eubanks said later. "It all happened so fast. 1 second I'm focused on the ball. The next there's a guy running across the baseline with a camera swinging." Tournament officials quickly evacuated the photographer, who appeared to be shouting unintelligible phrases as he was escorted away. Medvedev's outburst. The normally composed Russian was incensed. In a rare emotional eruption, he refused to resume play until tournament officials provided an explanation. "This is unsafe." Medvedev backed toward the referee's chair, his voice carrying through ash. "What if he had something dangerous? What if I got injured because you can't control your court?" Fans alternated between cheers for Medvedev's safety concerns and jeers at the delay. The tension inside the stadium was palpable as security swarmed the perimeter, reviewing protocols and inspecting credentials. The game resumes. After nearly a 15-minute delay, order was restored. Medvedev, however, struggled to regain his rhythm. His once fluid movement became erratic, and his first serve percentage plummeted. Eubanks capitalized, taking the second set 7-5 and pumping his fist toward a crowd eager for an upset. But champions rarely crumble so easily. In a display of mental resilience that reminded fans why he is one of the sport's fiercest competitors, Medvedev steadied himself in the deciding sets. He rediscovered his range, punished Eubanks with deep, penetrating ground strokes, and ultimately closed out the match 6-3, 5-7, 6-2, 6-4 after nearly 3.5 hours of chaotic tennis. As he shook hands with Eubanks, Medvedev's face told the story of the night, part relief, part disbelief, and a simmering anger that would not fade quickly. Aftermath and investigation. In the post-match press conference, Medvedev did not mince words. "This is supposed to be the safest court in the world," he said, his voice sharp. "I could have been injured, or worse. It's unacceptable. The tournament owes every player and fan an explanation." The United States Tennis Association, USTA, released a statement within the hour, apologizing for the incident and confirming that the photographer had been removed and his credentials revoked. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share.